यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य
ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञान घन प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्माहमस्मि सोहमस्मि ब्रह्माहमस्मि। ओम प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। May the Almighty Shri Lord Venkateshwara bestow all kinds of prosperity, health, wealth and eternal happiness with Paripurna Lakshmi Katakshams to you and the entire your family and friends. Let us begin Bhagavad Gita. So we are just undergoing a summary of 13th chapter. Seeing summary of the 13th chapter, it is as equal seeing summary of 13 chapters, because the chapter begins with the problems of Arjuna. The first chapter, which is known as Arjuna Vishada Yogam. In that first chapter, Vyasa Bhagavan unfolds the problem of Arjuna through his own mouth. And that problem mostly because of what? Mostly because of a wrong perception and wrong understanding about the life. Life is only experience of two principles. The one principle is me, who is in the form of consciousness, and another principle is the world. Only there are two. That two comes, in and out of the life. From the birth to death, only these two experiences lies with every individual. So your life is endowed with these two principles. Even my life, other life too. So all of our lives is endowed with these two principles. So in those two principles, the wrong understanding about the self causes for so many problems. Now this Bhagavad Gita gives a unique way of understanding about ourself is only possible when we understand thoroughly about the world. So when there are only two things, so it becomes very difficult to understand, to measure the world or consciousness, because both of them are in the form of experiences. Swamiji, how can you say they are in the form of experiences? Just you think about yesterday what all you did. We might have had breakfast, lunch, dinner, in between so many transactions. We might have traveled to many places. Now you just close your eyes, think about all those things which we done or which we did last day. Just they are only existing in the form of memory which was experienced. Now the places, the physical, superficial world is not going to come with us. Even body helps you to experience something. Now the existence of the body which is experienced in the form of experience. Now you and me and all other people in the world do have the same experience of the world, experience of his own Swarupa. So all of them, means both of them, exist in the form of only experiences. That is the evident. Only there are two things. In order to analyze this experience, it becomes very difficult because one is dependent on others. the consciousness principle, it seems to be dependent on that matter principle which is also in the form of experience. Now if at all I want to analyze, I have to analyze with one experience. If at all we want to analyze these both experiences, we don't have other source. We have to analyze an experience with the help of other experience. You don't know what I say? Are you not understanding? So if I want to analyze about my experience of the world, then I have to take the help of my experience of the consciousness. Both are, it seems to be beyond our control. Both are taking places. I cannot control, I don't have control over the experience of the world. It seems to be I don't have also control on the experience of myself. I cannot reduce the experience of the world. I cannot even increase or reduce the experience of myself. It's a unique problem, isn't it? So what is the wrong? Only I do have two experiences. No, that both experiences bring sufferings. There alone we find the problem. These two experiences, they cause for suffering, painful sufferings. I undergo lots of modifications. All of them are causing suffering, the experience which is in the form of suffering. Now I experience about myself as a sufferer, and also I experience the world as the cause of suffering. There we need to have a different method to solve this problem. This problem is known as bondage. Now what is bondage? Bondage is a suffering in the experience level. It seems to be one experience causes suffering for other experiences. The experience of the world causes suffering to the experiences of self. So I become sufferer because the world causes suffering to me. It bothers me. It gives painful experience to me. That's what the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. So the life is endowed with only these two experiences. Both of them seems to be out of our control. Then what should we do? Is there any a way that we can come across, or that we can realize it? Bhagavan says, yes, that is a way. Bhagavad Gita brings the beautiful methodology. Now these two experiences have been divided into 6 kinds of subject matters by Bhagavad Gita. Then alone we can find the solution to come across the suffering. Therefore, these two experiences known as Atma and Anatma. Atma and Anatma. Atma means the experience of the self. Anatma means whatever remains other than self, which is in the form of experiences. The world gives the experience. Finally, world is nothing but in the form of experiences. Now this study, which is known as Bhagavad Gita, only based on the experiences which we undergo every day. Day and night we are undergoing the experiences. In other words, we are encountered by the experiences. We can say in that way. There is a name given to it, is Kshetram. Now Kshetram means what? The experience of the body. Or we can say the body, mind and sense complex, which is experienced by me as the object. Or even too technically we talk about it, which is objectified me. Whatever is objectified by me, that's not me. Therefore, this body is known as Kshetram. In order to make us understand what is the Kshetram, we need to have one more word is known as Prakriti Tattvam. Now Kshetram is only experienced by me. What about other Kshetrams? Because the world is full of objects, the world is full of so many creatures, so many beings. Innumerable beings, they do have their own Sharira, the matter principle. Now, from the individual aspects, this Sharira is known as Kshetram. From the aspect of collectiveness, it is known as Prakriti Tattvam. Now, Kshetram and Prakriti both refers to the same object, which are objectified by the consciousness. So, I objectify my body and I can objectify your Shariram too. You can objectify your body, at the same time you can objectify my Sharira too. Means I am just delivering the lectures on Bhagavad Gita. That's what, matter principles, wherever it is, they are objectified by one more principle is consciousness. Now, when I see my body as an individual body, as an individual matter principle, it is known as Kshetram. That Kshetram means what? Limited Sharira. That limitation is given by whom? Given by me, the Kshetrajnaha. Therefore, it is individual body. Individual body is experienced as an individual own body. Other bodies are not experienced by me as my own Sharira. They are there. Therefore, we need to have one more word, Prakriti. So when I am taught in the topic or on the topic of Kshetram or by the name of Kshetram, I can understand my Sharira very clearly. If I am taught with the technical terms of Prakriti Tattvam, then I can understand about the matter principle of entire Jagat. Therefore, Kshetram, Prakriti Tattvam. So there are two words. Okay. Then one more word is provided. That one more word is known as Maya. That Maya word which reveals the secret of Kshetram and Prakriti Tattvam. Now the potential force of Kshetram and Prakriti is Maya. Now if I say Kshetram, Prakriti, Maya, three of them comes in one category but having different angle to express the same factor. Okay. And this matter principle also explained in the Shastra one by one. First, Kshetram was introduced. In first 6 chapters, this Kshetram was introduced. Simultaneously, the Kshetrajnam also introduced. So both of them, because without Kshetrajna, you cannot learn about Kshetra. Therefore, so these technical terms will help us to categorize and to analyze with a particular perception or with a particular understanding. Then once the 6th chapter completes, then the same object is analyzed, described with the other technical term with collective sense. It's known as Prakriti Tattva. The same body, mind and sense complex which is analyzed from the chapter 6 to 12 in the name of Prakriti Tattva from the standpoint of collectiveness of the body. But while describing this Prakriti Tattva, they also describe the source of this Prakriti Tattva, which is Maya Tattvam, which has the tendency to veil, to project. So that's what Maya Tattva. Now, our experience, which is known as body, mind and sense complex, are explained in the word or by the word, by the name of Kshetram, by the name of Prakriti Tattvam, by the name of Maya. Okay. Okay. So what are explained by these three technical terms? They are experienced in the form of experience. But the nature of Kshetram or Prakriti or Maya, whatever, among these three, they have the similarity. They are, because they are one and the same. The first explanation, I can say, the expression of the nature of these three can be brought into three words or three topics. First, they say, this Kshetram or Prakriti or Maya, they are inert. The first principle, first explanation, first understanding which we have to have as a point number one, the Kshetram or Prakriti or Maya, three of them are one and the same, which is Achetanam. Jada Vastu. Jada Vastu means what? Inert principle. Inert principle means they don't have liveliness. But it's a shocking explanations. It's a kind of invention, the great invention by our Shastra. So this matter principle doesn't have the life in it. Then, so whatever the liveliness, whatever the life is seen with the matter principle. For example, heartbeat is taking its own place. This matter principle, which is endowed with karma, action, it seems to be, it has got its own individual liveliness. No, the liveliness, the life, or the consciousness principle, which is borrowed from Kshetram, borrows from Kshetrajna, Prakriti borrows from Purusha Tattva, Maya borrows from Brahman. Now this Kshetram or Prakriti, whatever the technical terms, doesn't matter. They are inert. They are dead material. The body is nothing but the dead material. The heartbeat of the body, the emotions even of the mind, all of them are dead material. Dead material means what? They don't have life. They are not endowed with liveliness. Achetanatvam. Then what? The next one is known as Saguna. Sagunavat. Sagunavat means they are endowed with three kinds of gunas. Sattva, Rajo, Tamo gunaha. This guna brings what? Modifications. Always. They are endowed with what? Gunas. That gunas alone bring all kinds of modifications. Saguna. Then finally, it is known as Savikaravat, which is endowed with all kinds of modifications. 6 kinds of modifications. So body also undergoes 6 kinds of modifications. Prakriti Tattva, which is known as a matter principle of the world, also undergoes 6 kinds of modifications. Because Maya, the potential power, causes for it, through the 3 gunas, 6 kinds of modifications are on. So this is what explained from the verse number 2 to 23 of the 13th chapter, which are the capsule form of the 13 chapters, means 12 chapters. All of them can be given one title, which is known as Anatma Tattvam. Either you can call them Kshetram or Prakriti Tattvam or Maya Tattvam. So all 3 can be called in one word, Anatma Vastu, Anatma Tattvam. So these 3 categories are brought in one topic by the chapter number 13. Bhagavan took a journey. From the 2nd chapter, he takes a long journey. He brings so many examples, so many quotations from Upanishads. This is a kind of unique journey We need to have that journey, otherwise we don't have any other source. We cannot seek any help from any object, because all objects are nothing but inert things. They seems to be alive, but they are not alive. The consciousness principle, which is the real lively entity which exists in that. Then Bhagavan talks about consciousness principle, which is known as Atma. From individual aspects, it is known as what? Kshetrajnaha. From the collective aspects, it is known as Purushaha. From the technical terms, from the Upanishadic aspects, it is known as Brahman. So when you remove the attributes from individual consciousness, from the collective consciousness, then what remains is nothing but Brahman. This individual consciousness, which is known as Kshetram, the same individual consciousness in collective way, it is known as what? Purusha Tattvam. Now these three words, Kshetrajnaha, Purushaha or Brahman, they only indicates the same entity, that entity which is known as Atma. That's all. Now Atma means what? What is the nature of Atma? The Upanishadic expression is Satchidanandam Brahma. But here in the 13th chapter is a chapter of equation. Equation means what? So finding or learning the similarity between Kshetrajna and Purusha. What is the difference between this Kshetrajna and Purusha? Kshetrajna, who is nothing but Brahman, the consciousness, which is known as pure consciousness. Even Ishvaraha, Purusha means the collective consciousness, which is also nothing but the Brahman, which is pure consciousness. That's all. Now what divides is Anatma Tattvam. Therefore, Bhagavan brings in different way of approachment. He says the consciousness is not a part of body. Now the consciousness is not the part of matter principle. Okay. Then the second point is this consciousness principle not the property of the body. The third point I am telling, the consciousness principle which is not a product of body, matter principle. That's all. Now the consciousness principle is an independent entity. Can you understand what I say? So when we realize, when we experience, now also you are experiencing, I am also experiencing myself. Every one of us, we experience ourselves. But we experience in limited way. That limitation is false. That limitation is due to this body, mind and sense complex. But really speaking, it is not part of my body. And you just close your eyes and you just think, you never or we never have a limitations through this body. The individual consciousness which is experienced as in the form of our own self is not a part of body. It's the first bomb Bhagavan gives. It's a solid solution which is in the form of truth number one. It's not a part of body. It means what? I am born, so only I am experienced in this body. If there is no body, I won't be there. That's what brings the insecurity. That understanding which causes for insecurity. The understanding which is endowed with limitation. I am limited. And this consciousness doesn't have any property. It is not the property of matter. I am tall and short. I am fat and lean. I am an engineer. I am a doctor. I am very talented. I am not so talented. All these, difference, the attributes, only they belong to this matter principle, not me. We means the I which is experienced by me is not affected by these properties. The property only belong to the body. This consciousness is not the product, property or part of the body. It's not the product. This is the first understanding. When you understand, so you can just be relaxed. Be relaxed means what? We have been thinking from the birth, because society also insert the same way of thinking that I am the part of body, I am the property of body, I am the product of body. That's what the understanding. You are my son, my son, my son. Who says? Our fathers say. Our fathers say. Yes, of course, we have a connection between our fathers. The connection is due to what? Only through this body. If our father would have said, Beta, oh my boy, your body and you are not same. You are Swatantra Purushaha. You are an independent entity. So both of us are connected through this Sharira, the relationship father and son. But from the standpoint of our conscious level, you and me both are same. In the superficial level, in the Sharira's level, we have the relation called father and son. We value to that relationship. We will continue with that relationship until the end of our life. But we will be continuing with the understanding about ourselves. How it would be if he would have taught us like that. If he would have taught better, all attributes of the body won't affect you. You are pure consciousness. Then we would have not undergone all kinds of emotional problems. We would have not kept ourselves as a competitor or an object of competition. We made ourselves an object of competitions of the world. The world is full of competitions because of lacking of this understanding. We were lacking of this. My consciousness is not the product of body. My consciousness is not the property of body. My consciousness, which is not part of the body. 3P. P. Then I am Swatantra Purushaha. Chetana Vastu. I am the consciousness principle. I am not the dead material. My body borrows the liveliness from me. I become author. I become Adhara Vastu like Akasha. I become the substratum of my whole life, which is in the form of experience. The first experience is the body experience. Then the next one is the experience which is in the form of the world. I am the substratum. I am the substance of my life. Nothing goes and nothing comes. I remain. I don't lose anything. I don't gain anything. I am attributeless. I am the consciousness which is beyond attributes. I am the consciousness which beyond all kinds of modification. So I am the consciousness who is all pervasive. Bhagavan gave two examples finally, Akasha and the sunlight, which we saw in the last sessions. So there are more examples were given by Lord Krishna. That's all, these three words, Kshetrajnam, Purushaha, Brahman, three are one and the same. Now Atma and Anatma, which is true, which exists, Atma is Nityam, this Anatma is Anityam, that's all. It is like a dream world, it is like a dreamer. That's all. He concludes the 13th chapter. So one is Satyam, another is Mithya. The concept of Mithya means what? Falseness, which keeps on changing. Therefore what? That change is the eternal way, that Prakriti Tattva, but the consciousness principle which is endowed with changelessness, Abhyaya Vastu. That's what the understanding one should have by the chapter number 13. Then Bhagavan talks about 5 kinds of steps in the spiritual activity from the verse number 24 and 25. Then by the verse number 26, Bhagavan talks about Jivan Mukta Lakshanam. That we will complete in the next session. Then we will go to the chapter number 14. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.